The vast emptiness of space was serene, a calm that humankind had grown accustomed to. For years, Earth had stood as a beacon of progress, a symbol of human resilience and achievement. From the peaceful blue planet below, humanity had mastered its world, solved many of its problems, explored its mysteries, and even looked beyond its atmosphere, reaching out toward the stars. But in the stillness of the cosmos, a storm was brewing. Without any prior warning, the night sky suddenly erupted in blinding flashes of light. Alien ships, once cloaked in the invisibility of deep space, suddenly decloaked, their massive, menacing forms materializing above Earth's cities. These were no mere scouts or explorers. These were warships, brimming with deadly power and intent. A deep, earth-shaking hum filled the air as they positioned themselves strategically over major capitals: Washington, D.C., London, Beijing, Paris. The peaceful hum of Earth was replaced with a deafening silence, a pause before the chaos. Then, as quickly as the ships appeared, they unleashed a horrifying barrage. The first strike hit New York City. In an instant, skyscrapers crumbled to dust, and a firestorm of destruction spread across the streets. The sky above was filled with flashes of bright blue energy beams as they tore through the city's defenses, obliterating everything in their path. People screamed in terror, running for their lives, but there was nowhere to hide. More cities followed, each one falling under a rain of destructive power. The mighty alien fleet had arrived, and they were not here for diplomacy. They were here to conquer. Amidst the chaos, the voice of the alien fleet's commander, Zalrak, cut through the airwaves. His voice, cold and terrifying, echoed across every broadcast station, seizing the hearts of those who heard it. The message was simple, yet chilling: surrender or perish. The arrogance in Zalrak's voice was palpable. He spoke with the confidence of someone who believed victory was assured. As his warships continued their onslaught, it became clear to humanity that this would not be just another invasion. The alien fleet was vast, too vast. Their technology, far superior. The defense systems that had once protected Earth seemed obsolete in the face of such overwhelming force. In mere minutes, the Earth's defense forces scrambled to respond. Governments, military leaders, and scientists rushed to assess the situation, but all efforts seemed futile against the enemy's advanced weaponry. Major cities burned, communication lines went dark, and panic spread like wildfire. For the first time in history, humanity was united in terror, facing an enemy whose power they couldn't even begin to comprehend. As governments tried desperately to mobilize their military forces, it became apparent that there was no quick solution. Earth's military strength, although formidable, was insufficient to deal with such a technologically advanced foe. The alien ships hovered above, their energy cannons firing down relentlessly, while civilians and soldiers alike scrambled for cover. But even in the midst of this despair, hope had not been completely extinguished. Captain Liam Hayes, a seasoned military leader with years of experience, was no stranger to difficult situations. He had led his troops in countless battles, each one pushing him to the brink. But this was different. This was the fight for Earth itself. He stood at the command center, watching the devastation unfold on the screens. He didn't waste time. His voice was calm, his commands precise as he immediately began organizing Earth's remaining military resources. His team, though small, was fiercely loyal and ready for anything. They knew that Earth's survival depended on every move they made, and they had to strike fast before it was too late. But Liam wasn't alone. Alongside him was Dr. Elena Carter, one of Earth's top scientists and the brilliant mind behind Project Nova, humanity's last hope. Project Nova was a secret weapon, a powerful cutting-edge technology developed in the deepest corners of Earth's most classified laboratories. It was humanity's trump card, a weapon that could potentially turn the tide in this hopeless battle. But there was a catch. It had never been tested in real combat. The risks of deploying such a weapon were unknown, and failure could lead to catastrophe. As Liam and Elena reviewed the plans for Project Nova, they both knew this was a desperate gamble. There was no choice but to try, for humanity's survival. But it wasn't just the weapon they had to worry about. The alien fleet's advanced cloaking technology made it almost impossible to track them, while their superior intelligence systems and weaponry could neutralize Earth's defenses in moments. Back on Earth's surface, the cities were in flames, the smoke rising high into the atmosphere. Earth was under siege. But in the shadows of underground bunkers, away from the chaos, the best warriors of humanity prepared for a counterattack. These were the elite forces, the ones who had trained for a moment like this, when all hope seemed lost. They were ready to fight for their world, to protect their families, their homes, their civilization. Every soldier knew this was the defining moment of their lives. They knew what they had to do. Captain Liam, Dr. Elena, and their team were far from the only ones who refused to give in to despair. Humanity had been pushed to the brink, but they were not a people who gave up easily. Earth's military leaders began sending out calls for resistance, rallying every last soldier, every last resource, and every last ounce of strength to fight back. As the clock ticked down, the suspense only grew. Would Earth survive this unexpected ambush? Could humanity, the underdog, stand up against such a technologically superior enemy? The question lingered in the air, like the smoke rising from the shattered cities. The alien fleet hovered over Earth, its immense power hanging like a sword above humanity's neck. The world was on the brink of total collapse, yet humanity's spirit remained unbroken. It was this spirit, this refusal to surrender, that would determine whether Earth lived to see another day. In the quiet of the underground bunkers, Liam and Elena made their final preparations. There was no turning back now. The countdown had begun, and Earth's fate rested on their shoulders. The battle for the planet's survival was about to begin, and every second mattered. The question echoed in every heart across the globe. Will humanity survive this ambush? As the story unfolded, the suspense intensified. Earth's cities were burning, and humanity's greatest minds and soldiers scrambled to mount a defense. It was a fight for survival, one that would test the very limits of human resilience. And in the face of insurmountable odds, one thing became clear: Earth would not go down without a fight. The clock ticked. The tension built, and humanity's last hope was ready to strike back. The air was thick with tension as Earth's military forces scrambled into action. The alien fleet had already launched a devastating first wave, and humanity had no time to lose. Captain Liam Hayes stood at the command center, eyes fixed on the massive screens that displayed the alien ships hovering above Earth's capitals. His mind raced, processing the situation as fast as he could. His voice, steady despite the mounting pressure, rang out across the room. "Prepare for counteroffensive. We can't let them take more ground. Move out now," he barked. In an instant, the room exploded into activity. Soldiers, technicians, and strategists all rushed to their stations. Fighter jets, warships, and defensive units were mobilized in a matter of minutes. Every soldier knew the stakes. Earth's survival depended on their every move. But deep down, they all knew something that chilled them to the core. The alien fleet was unlike anything humanity had ever faced before. Their warships were huge, heavily armored, and armed with weaponry far superior to anything Earth had in its arsenal. Liam's heart raced as he watched the massive alien warships loom ominously on the screens. Their cloaking devices had made it almost impossible to track them, and their advanced energy weapons had torn through Earth's defenses with terrifying ease. But despite these overwhelming odds, Liam knew they had to fight. The last thing Earth's people wanted was to surrender. The first wave of Earth's counteroffensive launched into the air. Fighter jets soared toward the alien ships, leaving trails of smoke behind them as they hurtled through the sky. The jets weaved and dodged, trying to evade the deadly energy blasts that the alien ships fired at them. The sky above Earth was a chaos of flashing lights and explosions as the two forces collided. It was clear that humanity's fighters were outmatched in both speed and firepower. The alien ships, with their advanced cloaking technology, disappeared and reappeared at will, making them nearly impossible to target. One by one, Earth's jets were torn apart by the energy beams, their pilots barely having time to eject before their craft was destroyed. The situation was dire, and Captain Liam could see it in the faces of his soldiers. The fight was slipping through their fingers. Back in the underground lab, Dr. Elena Carter was working furiously. Her mind raced as she pored over the data from the ongoing battle. The alien ships were unlike anything she had ever studied, but there had to be a way to turn the tide. Then her eyes fell on the hidden project she had been working on for months, Project Nova. Project Nova was the result of countless sleepless nights, years of research, and a dangerous gamble on humanity's future. It was a high-tech weapon unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Built to disable and disarm alien warships, it had the power to disrupt the advanced cloaking devices and energy shields that protected the alien fleet. But there was one problem. Project Nova had never been tested in real combat. Elena's heart pounded as she reviewed the data one last time. The weapon was ready. She had to believe in it. There was no other option. If Earth had any chance of surviving, Project Nova had to work. Without it, they would lose everything. She keyed in the command to activate the weapon, but the real challenge lay ahead, getting it to the front lines. Captain Hayes, this is Dr. Carter. Elena's voice crackled over the comm system. Project Nova is ready. I'm sending you the coordinates for launch. We have one shot at this. Make it count. Liam's eyes narrowed as he heard Elena's voice. His team was struggling to hold off the aliens, and Earth's remaining fighters were being pushed to their limits. But with Project Nova on the table, there was a sliver of hope. They couldn't afford to wait any longer. Understood, Dr. Carter. Liam responded. We'll get it into position. Stand by. The fight was far from over, but Liam knew that this could be the turning point. He issued orders for his remaining forces to regroup, and the last remaining military units prepared to make their move. The air was thick with anticipation as the countdown to launch began. Meanwhile, the alien commanders, sitting in the safety of their advanced warships, watched with contempt as Earth's forces launched their counteroffensive. Zolrak, the cold and calculating alien leader, smirked as he saw the desperate attempts of the human military. To him, the humans were nothing but an insignificant species trying to survive against an unstoppable force. They think they can challenge us. Zolrak scoffed, turning to his officers. Pathetic. The aliens were overconfident, dismissing the humans as primitive and weak. They believed the battle was already won. Earth's military might was nothing compared to their advanced technology. The alien ships had no reason to fear the humans. They had decimated entire fleets on their way to Earth, and this insignificant planet was just another obstacle in their conquest of the galaxy. Zolrak's laughter echoed throughout the command center of the alien fleet. The human resistance was barely a threat in his eyes. He had underestimated them before, but he had learned nothing from it. The destruction of Earth was inevitable. There was nothing the humans could do to stop them. As Zolrak looked on, Earth's forces made their final push. In a last-ditch effort, the remaining warships and soldiers launched a coordinated strike against the alien fleet. The sound of engines roaring filled the air as the human forces barreled forward, determined to make one final stand. But the alien fleet was too powerful. Their energy weapons tore through the human ships like paper, and the remaining jets were quickly neutralized. Then, just as it seemed like all hope was lost, Earth's secret weapon, Project Nova, was activated. A brilliant flash of light illuminated the battlefield as Project Nova launched from its hidden location. The alien fleet's cloaking devices flickered as the weapon made contact. For the first time since the battle began, the alien ships were momentarily visible, their once hidden forms revealed in a burst of light. The energy shields around the alien ships flickered, their protective layers weakening as the weapon worked its magic. The aliens had never encountered anything like it. Project Nova's disruption of their advanced technology was unparalleled. The human weapon was turning the tide of battle, and Zalrek's smug confidence quickly turned to disbelief. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "How did they manage to?" He was cut off as several of his warships suddenly lost power, their systems failing one by one. The once unstoppable alien fleet was now vulnerable. The humans had made their move, and for the first time, the aliens were on the defensive. Captain Liam, watching from the command center, felt a surge of hope. They had done it. The tide had turned. Earth had struck back, and now the aliens knew they were not the only ones with advanced technology. But Zalrak wasn't finished yet. He quickly issued orders to retaliate, knowing that Earth's victory was temporary. The real fight was only just beginning, and the aliens would not let this challenge go unanswered. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were about to learn just how dangerous humanity could be. For the first time since the invasion began, Captain Liam and Dr. Elena allowed themselves a moment of relief. But they knew that the battle was far from over. The alien fleet was still formidable, and the war was just getting started. Earth's forces would have to fight harder than ever before. The first strike had been successful, but the war was far from won. The true test of humanity's strength was still to come. The night air was thick with tension as Earth's remaining forces regrouped. After the success of Project Nova, a spark of hope had been ignited, but the battle was far from over. Humanity had shown that they could fight back, but they had yet to break the aliens' overwhelming power. The aliens were still vast, and their ships still dominated Earth's skies. But now, the humans had something else. A plan. Captain Liam Hayes paced back and forth in the dimly lit command center. His eyes focused on the holographic map in front of him, where the alien fleet still loomed over Earth's major cities. Their forces were scattered, but the aliens maintained a tight grip on key locations. Despite the losses, Liam knew the war wasn't lost yet. The humans had something that the aliens couldn't predict: their ability to adapt. "All right, listen up." Liam's voice was firm as he addressed his weary soldiers. "We're going to fight this war the way humans know best, by using our brains. It's time for guerrilla warfare." The room grew quiet as Liam outlined the plan. The key to victory now lay in disrupting the alien fleet's communication network. The aliens relied on their advanced systems to coordinate their forces, and without those networks, they would be left vulnerable. Earth's remaining fighters, now equipped with cloaking technology, would use stealth to infiltrate the alien ships and sabotage their communication hubs. Small, fast-moving groups. No direct confrontations. We hit them hard, hit them fast, and disappear before they know what happened, Liam continued. Our goal isn't to destroy their ships. It's to cripple their control. We need to make them doubt their superiority. The plan was risky. The alien ships were still far superior in firepower, but the humans had one advantage: their ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. With their cloaking devices, they could move unseen, using the element of surprise to cause chaos and confusion in the enemy ranks. As the plan went into motion, Earth's forces moved swiftly across the battlefield. Fighter ships cloaked in invisibility darted between the wreckage of fallen cities, their engines barely a whisper in the night air. Small teams of soldiers infiltrated alien ships, using the cloaking technology to bypass security systems and reach critical areas of the vessels. The first strike came in the dead of night. Earth's forces launched an assault on one of the alien fleet's main communication hubs located in a massive orbital station above Earth. The station was heavily guarded, with numerous alien soldiers patrolling its corridors, but they were unprepared for the humans' tactics. The human fighters, invisible to the alien sensors, infiltrated the station with ease. They moved like shadows, slipping past guards and disabling security systems one by one. Inside the station, close quarters combat erupted as humans faced off against the advanced alien soldiers. The aliens, taller and more physically imposing, were equipped with high-tech weapons and armor, but the humans fought with a fierce determination born from desperation. The humans used their wits and agility, exploiting the narrow corridors and tight spaces to their advantage. They fought hand to hand, using knives, plasma pistols, and anything they could find to disable the aliens. Captain Liam's voice crackled through the comms as the battle raged on. Remember your training. Keep moving, hit hard, and stay sharp. Don't let them surround you. The tension in the air was palpable as soldiers fought for every inch of ground. Each move was calculated, every decision crucial. The humans were outnumbered, but they were using every ounce of ingenuity and resourcefulness. They had to make up for the difference. They weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their homes, for their families, and for the future of Earth. As the fighting intensified, one of Earth's most experienced soldiers, Bonner, found himself face to face with an alien soldier in the bowels of the station. Bonner was known for his calm demeanor and sharp instincts. He was a leader, a symbol of hope to the others. But this time, the odds were stacked against him. The alien soldier towered over Bonner, his eyes cold and calculating as he raised his weapon. Bonner reacted in an instant, lunging forward with a battle cry, his knife slicing through the air. The two clashed in a brutal exchange, the sound of weapons clashing echoing through the station's steel walls. Bonner's movements were swift, his experience evident in every move. But the alien soldier's strength was overwhelming. Bonner fought valiantly, but in the end, the alien's superior power proved too much. With one final, crushing blow, Bonner was struck down. The news of Bonner's death hit the human forces like a hammer. For many, he had been a symbol of their fight. His loss was a devastating blow, but it also sparked a fire within the soldiers. Bonner had given his life for Earth, and his sacrifice would not be in vain. The humans would honor his memory by fighting harder than ever before. As the battle raged on, Captain Liam gathered his troops in a secure location to regroup. His face was grim as he stood before them, his voice filled with emotion. Bonner gave his life for this planet, Liam said, his voice steady but filled with conviction. His sacrifice shows what we're capable of. We fight for Earth, for our future, and for those we've lost. We fight for every person who believes in us, who trusts us to protect them. The soldiers stood tall, their faces grim but resolute. Bonner's death had fueled their determination, and now they were more united than ever before. The human forces had come together in a way the aliens could never understand. They were fighting for something more than just survival. They were fighting for each other, for the legacy of their world. Let's make them regret underestimating us, Liam added, his voice rising with fierce determination. We're not just fighting for our planet. We're fighting for humanity's future. With renewed resolve, the humans launched another strike. The aliens' control was slipping, and they were starting to realize that the humans were no longer the weak, primitive species they had thought them to be. Every ambush, every attack, was a reminder that humanity was not to be underestimated. The guerrilla warfare tactics had worked. The aliens' communication hubs were crippled, their forces scattered and disoriented. Earth's fighters had become a force to be reckoned with. Though they were still outgunned and outnumbered, they had proven that they could stand toe-to-toe with the most powerful species in the galaxy. But even with their successes, the fight was far from over. The aliens would not give up easily. They would regroup, adapt, and come back stronger. But the humans had shown their true strength, not in their weapons, but in their hearts and their unwavering will to fight for their home. The tension had been building for weeks. Humanity's forces were battered and bruised, but they had managed to keep the alien invaders at bay. Despite the overwhelming power of the enemy fleet, Earth had not given up. They had fought back with everything they had, using guerrilla tactics and ingenious strategies to slow the alien advance. But now, in the heart of the battle, came the moment they had been waiting for. Project Nova was ready. Deep within the confines of a secret space station located on the outskirts of the solar system, Dr. Elena Carter worked tirelessly. The pressure of time had weighed heavily on her shoulders ever since the alien fleet had appeared in Earth's skies. But now, her invention, the culmination of years of research and work, was finally ready for its first real test. Project Nova was humanity's last hope, a weapon capable of disabling the alien fleet's advanced technology for a brief window of time. It was a long shot, but it was the only shot they had left. Elena stood at the control panel, her hands shaking as she initiated the launch sequence. The room around her buzzed with the hum of machinery, and the flickering lights above seemed to echo her nervous anticipation. Her mind raced as she double-checked the settings. If this didn't work, Earth's forces would have no chance of victory. With a deep breath, she pressed the button. The space station's systems came to life as Project Nova activated. A massive surge of energy erupted from the heart of the station, shooting out in a brilliant burst of electromagnetic power. The waves spread through space, traveling faster than the eye could see, reaching the alien fleet that hovered menacingly above Earth's cities. In an instant, the alien ships froze. Their glowing shields flickered and then disappeared entirely. The once imposing weapon systems powered down, leaving the alien fleet vulnerable for the first time since the invasion began. The humans had finally gained the upper hand, if only for a moment. Back on Earth, the news spread like wildfire. The aliens who had once seemed invincible were now temporarily neutralized. The humans had a chance, a window of opportunity that could turn the tide of the war. Captain Liam Hayes and his team of soldiers didn't hesitate. The time for subtlety had passed. They knew what they had to do. "Captain, the shields are down. The aliens are vulnerable. We need to act fast," one of the officers said, his voice urgent. Liam didn't waste a second. "Prepare the fleet. We're going in." In the vastness of space, Earth's fighters surged forward, their engines roaring to life as they launched into the void. The once fearsome alien ships, now without their shields or weapons, were sitting ducks. The human fleet, though still outnumbered, had an advantage. With the element of surprise and the brief window of opportunity, they could strike harder than ever before. The human fighters darted through space like shooting stars, weaving between the alien vessels in a flurry of movement. The familiar hum of engines and the crackle of comms filled the air as the pilots locked onto their targets. The first wave of attacks came in fast and brutal, as human fighters unleashed their firepower upon the exposed alien ships. The weapons systems, once dormant, now flared to life as the humans aimed at the vulnerable weak points of the alien vessels. Space dogfights erupted as human fighters engaged in intense combat with the alien ships. The battle was fast-paced and chaotic, with explosions lighting up the void. Human pilots, despite being outgunned, fought with everything they had, their determination shining through in every calculated move. They dodged incoming fire, swooping in to strike the alien ships at their most vulnerable points. The sounds of blaster fire and missiles exploding in the distance reverberated across the battlefield. Captain Liam led the charge, his ship cutting through the chaos like a knife through butter. His focus was unshakable as he navigated through the mess of dogfights, each maneuver an expert blend of skill and bravery. His voice crackled over the comms, urging his team forward. "Push forward. Take down their flagships. This is our moment." The human fighters pressed the attack, relentless in their pursuit of victory. They had nothing to lose. Earth's survival depended on their success, and they knew it. Every shot they fired, every move they made, was another step closer to saving their planet. As the battle raged on, the alien fleet's once precise coordination began to crumble. Without their advanced shields or weapons, the aliens were scrambling to adapt. The human forces, though still heavily outnumbered, were using their ingenuity to turn the tide in their favor. Their attacks were fast and furious, coming from all directions and catching the aliens off guard. But it wasn't just the ships that were feeling the pressure. The alien commander, Zalrak, watched from his flagship, his face twisted in fury as he saw his forces faltering. His mind raced as he tried to make sense of what was happening. The humans were supposed to be weak, helpless creatures, easily crushed under the might of his fleet. He had underestimated them, and now his entire invasion was in jeopardy. Zolrak's fists slammed against the control panel in front of him. What is this? How are they fighting back so fiercely? His voice was low, filled with disbelief. Their weapons, their tactics. This should not be happening. The alien commanders around him were equally stunned. Their ships were falling apart, and the humans were proving to be more than just a nuisance. Zolrak had expected to crush humanity with ease, but now he was facing a threat he hadn't anticipated. The humans were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their homes, for their families, and for the future of their world. Zolrak's frustration turned to rage. "This is impossible," he shouted, his anger boiling over. The humans are not supposed to fight back. They are supposed to submit. They are supposed to bow to us. But the humans weren't submitting. They were fighting back with everything they had, and the alien fleet was beginning to crumble under the pressure. The once confident alien commander, so sure of his victory, was now grappling with the realization that the war was no longer in his control. In the chaos of battle, Captain Liam's voice came over the comms once again, steady and calm. "This is it, people. We've got them on the ropes. Keep pushing." The humans were not about to give up. The tide had turned in their favor, and they were determined to ride the wave of victory all the way to the end. The battle for Earth had only just begun, but now, for the first time, the humans had a fighting chance. Zolrak's overconfidence had been shattered, and the alien fleet was falling apart. The humans had shown that they were not the weak, helpless species the aliens had believed them to be. They were resilient, resourceful, and fiercely determined. And with Project Nova, they had found the key to their victory. As the battle raged on, it was clear that the humans were no longer fighting alone. They were fighting with the strength of every person who had ever believed in them, every person who had ever fought for the future of Earth. And that strength was proving to be more than enough to turn the tide of the war. The war had taken its toll. After months of relentless fighting, Earth's resources were dwindling. The humans had fought with everything they had, but they were on the edge of exhaustion. The alien fleet still loomed large, and victory seemed out of reach. Yet, despite the mounting pressure, Captain Liam Hayes and his team were prepared for one final desperate assault, an all-or-nothing strike against the alien flagship, the heart of the invasion. This was humanity's last stand, and they had to make it count. Captain Liam stood on the command deck of the human flagship, his eyes scanning the tactical display. The alien fleet was still vast, and their forces were stronger than ever. But they had something the aliens didn't: heart, determination, and the will to fight for their planet. Their stealth technology and newfound confidence in Project Nova gave them a chance, but this final assault would demand everything they had left. "We've got one shot at this," Liam said, his voice steady but filled with the weight of what was to come. "We hit them hard, we hit them fast, and we make sure we don't leave anything behind." The plan was simple yet dangerous. Using a combination of stealth and brute force, the humans would board the alien flagship, infiltrating its defenses and sabotaging its core. They knew that this would be a one-way mission for many of them, but there was no other choice. If they didn't strike now, Earth would fall. The countdown had begun, and there was no turning back. Dr. Elena Carter, who had been working alongside Liam throughout the war, was equally determined. She had spent countless hours perfecting Project Nova and had already made great sacrifices to get them to this point. Now, her role in the final assault was clear: disable the alien ship's core to prevent it from escaping or retaliating. She had always known that this moment would come, but even she couldn't prepare for the emotional toll it would take. As the human forces made their way toward the alien flagship, the tension in the air was palpable. Every soldier knew what was at stake. Their friends, their families, their entire future depended on the success of this mission. As they neared the alien ship, Captain Liam gathered his team for one final briefing. He looked each soldier in the eye, knowing that this might be the last time they would see each other. "We fight for our world," he said, his voice a rallying cry. "We fight for those we've lost, and we fight for the future of our children. This is not just about us. It's about all of humanity." The team nodded, their faces a mix of fear and determination. They had come this far, and they weren't going to stop now. The stealth teams made their move, infiltrating the alien ship with precision. Using cloaking devices, they slipped past the alien patrols, moving silently through the darkened corridors of the enemy vessel. Their mission was to reach the heart of the flagship and disable the core. But as they made their way deeper into the ship, they encountered fierce resistance. The aliens were prepared for this kind of attack, and their soldiers fought with ruthless efficiency. The close-quarters combat was intense. Human soldiers fought with everything they had, relying on their agility, resourcefulness, and teamwork to hold their ground. They used their knowledge of the ship's layout to their advantage, setting traps and using surprise to take down the alien soldiers one by one. But the cost was high. With each step forward, more lives were lost. The battle raged on, and the sound of gunfire and explosions echoed through the ship. Captain Liam and his team fought their way toward the core, knowing that they had to get there before it was too late. Dr. Elena, too, was fighting her own battle. As the ship's engineers worked to stabilize the core, she moved quickly to sabotage its systems. The closer she got to the core, the more dangerous it became. Alien soldiers were everywhere, but Elena was determined. She knew that the fate of humanity rested in her hands. As the fighting intensified, Captain Liam's close friend and fellow soldier, Sergeant Bonner, was gravely injured. The loss of Bonner hit the team hard, but it also fueled their resolve. Bonner had been more than just a soldier. He had been a brother in arms, a man who had always fought with courage and honor. His death was a blow to their morale, but it also served as a reminder of why they were fighting. Liam stood over Bonner's fallen body, his heart heavy with grief. But he didn't have time to mourn. The mission had to continue. He turned to his team, his eyes burning with determination. "We keep going," he said firmly. "For Bonner. For Earth." The team pushed forward, their spirits hardened by the loss. They fought with everything they had left, each step bringing them closer to the core. The tension was unbearable as they neared their destination. Every moment felt like an eternity. But they couldn't stop now. They had come too far to fail. Finally, they reached the core. The massive glowing structure hummed with energy as Dr. Elena worked furiously to deactivate it. The room was filled with alien soldiers, all of whom knew that if the core was disabled, their entire fleet would be rendered powerless. The final showdown was imminent. Captain Liam and his team fought desperately to protect Dr. Elena as she worked. Blaster fire and explosions filled the air as the alien forces launched a full assault. It was a battle for the ages, a fight to the death. The humans, despite their exhaustion and losses, refused to give in. As Elena finally managed to disable the core, the alien flagship began to tremble. The once mighty ship was losing power, its systems failing one by one. The tide had turned, but just as victory seemed within reach, the alien commander, Zalrak, appeared, leading a final charge toward the humans. Zalrak was furious. He had lost everything: his fleet, his soldiers, and now his flagship. His eyes burned with rage as he faced Captain Liam. The two enemies locked eyes, each knowing that this confrontation would determine the outcome of the war. With a guttural growl, Zalrak charged at Liam, his alien weapon raised. The battle between the two was fierce, a clash of will and strength. But Liam was no ordinary soldier. He had been fighting for the survival of his world. And nothing, no alien, no weapon, could stop him. In a final, desperate move, Liam outsmarted Zalrak, using his knowledge of the ship's layout to his advantage. He trapped the alien commander and captured him alive. With Zalrak in custody, The human forces were able to disable the rest of the alien fleet. The battle was won, but the cost had been staggering. Thousands of human lives had been lost, and Earth would never be the same. But humanity had proven its resilience. Against all odds, they had defeated an enemy that was far more powerful than they had ever imagined. As the human soldiers looked out over the wreckage of the alien fleet, their hearts heavy with the weight of their sacrifices, Captain Liam stood tall. He had lost so much in this fight: friends, comrades, and even a part of himself. But he knew that their victory would not be in vain. Humanity had stood together, fought together, and survived together. And in the end, that was what mattered most. The war was over, but the journey for humanity was just beginning. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth had shown the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The aliens had come to conquer, but they had been met with a force far greater than they could have ever anticipated. Captain Liam looked up at the stars, the weight of the past behind him, and the future ahead of him. Humanity had won this battle, but the fight for their place in the universe was just beginning. The war was over, and humanity had won. The alien fleet, once a terrifying force, was shattered, their command structure broken, and their invasion plans crushed. Yet, as the dust settled, it became clear that the victory came at an immense cost. The human soldiers, their faces marked with exhaustion and grief, knew the price of their triumph. Lives had been lost, families torn apart, and Earth itself scared. But despite the sorrow, the victory was undeniable. Humanity had survived, and against all odds, had shown the galaxy that they would not be silenced. In the wake of the battle, the leaders of Earth knew it was time to send a message to the entire galaxy. A message that would resonate across every corner of space and echo through the stars. They gathered together in a secure facility, their faces solemn but resolute. Captain Liam Hayes, Dr. Elena Carter, and the rest of the leadership team watched as the broadcast was prepared. The galaxy needed to hear the truth. The footage began, showing the battered human forces standing over the captured alien commander Zalrak. His once proud form was now shackled, his eyes filled with a mixture of fury and disbelief. The image was powerful, one of humanity's greatest victories. Earth's leaders spoke directly to the galaxy, their voices steady and filled with the weight of the moment. "We stand here today," the President of Earth declared, "not as conquerors, but as survivors. Humanity will not fall. We have shown that we are not to be underestimated. We are a force to be reckoned with, and we will fight for our survival." Let this message echo through the stars. Earth is not a place to be taken lightly. The message was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. It wasn't just a declaration of victory. It was a proclamation of humanity's strength, resilience, and determination. It was a message to the aliens who had sought to enslave them, to the powers that had underestimated them, and to anyone else who might think Earth was an easy target. The galaxy now knew that humanity was not just another civilization to be ignored. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they would stand their ground. As the broadcast ended, the room fell silent. There was no cheering, no celebration, just the quiet understanding that the galaxy would never be the same again. Earth had made its mark, but Captain Liam and Dr. Elena knew that the war was not truly over. The galaxy was vast, and while humanity had won this battle, the future was uncertain. There would be more challenges ahead, more threats to face, and more enemies to fight. Later that day, Captain Liam and Dr. Elena stood at the remains of an alien warship, one of the many destroyed in the final assault. The wreckage was scattered across the desolate landscape, a haunting reminder of the battle that had taken place. The stars above twinkled brightly, as if offering a sense of peace after the chaos. They stood together, side by side, both gazing out into the infinite expanse of space. There was a quiet, contemplative silence between them. Liam spoke first, his voice low but steady. "It's over, Elena. We did it." Dr. Elena Carter nodded, but her expression was a mixture of relief and sorrow. Yes, we did. But at what cost? Her voice trembled slightly. The weight of the lives lost still heavy on her heart. So many good people died. Liam looked at her, his eyes filled with understanding. He, too, felt the sting of loss. The war had taken so much from them. Family, friends, comrades. They had fought with everything they had, and though they had triumphed, the scars would never fade. But in the quiet moment, as they both stood amidst the wreckage of the alien fleet, something else began to emerge, something more powerful than the pain of loss. It was pride. Pride in what humanity had achieved. Pride in the strength and courage that had carried them through the darkest days. We didn't just fight for ourselves, Liam said, his voice growing more determined. We fought for everyone, for the future of our children, for the ones we lost. And we won. Earth won. Humanity won. Elena turned to face him, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and sorrow. You're right. We did it. And we'll rebuild. But we can't forget the sacrifices. We won't forget, Liam assured her. But we'll honor them by making sure that this victory means something. That the future we're building is better than the one we were about to lose. The two of them stood there for a long time, taking in the gravity of the moment. The stars above, so distant and eternal, seemed to offer a silent promise that the battle they had fought would not be in vain. They had endured, they had survived, and they would rebuild. As Earth began the long process of recovery and rebuilding, the people of the planet worked tirelessly to restore what had been lost. Cities were rebuilt, technologies were repaired, and the scars of war slowly began to fade. The humans, having faced an invasion that could have wiped them out, now set their sights on the future. They knew that there would be other challenges ahead. The galaxy was a vast, unpredictable place, filled with strange civilizations, dangers, and opportunities. But one thing was certain: humanity was ready for whatever the future held. In the aftermath of the battle, Earth's leaders worked to form new alliances, forging diplomatic ties with the other races that had witnessed humanity's strength. The message that humanity had sent to the galaxy was not just about survival, it was about unity. Earth had fought alone against a galaxy of enemies, but now they were ready to stand alongside other civilizations, ready to face any threats together. As Captain Liam and Dr. Elena watched the sunrise over the Earth, they could see the hope and determination in the eyes of the people. The world was changing, but this time it was changing for the better. There was no longer any doubt that humanity had a place in the galaxy, a place earned through blood, sweat, and tears. The war was over. Earth had won. But in many ways, it was just the beginning. The beginning of a new era, one where humanity stood as equals with the other races of the galaxy. They had shown their strength, their courage, and their will to survive. And as they looked to the future, they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. United, stronger than ever. The last lines of the broadcast echoed in the minds of everyone who had witnessed it. Humanity will not fall. It was more than just a message. It was a promise. And Earth would keep that promise. No matter what came next, humanity would always rise again. The battle had been hard, the sacrifices immense, but the hope for the future burned brighter than ever before. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson: never underestimate humanity.